When was the last time that you challenged yourself in a new way? For me, this past year has been filled with challenges. I'm a new dad. I've taken on the marathon distance. I've taken on short track distances most recently. I've worked to grow and improve what I do here on Knighton Runs, worked to improve my personal life and my relationships. It's been a good year, all in all. And when you think about your past year and what you've accomplished, and you think about your running specifically, when was the last time that you really challenged yourself? As runners, I think we can often get stuck in our ways, but it's only through taking on new challenges and achieving what we set out to do, even though it's hard, that we grow and improve, become a better runner and a better person. On today's episode of the Knighton Runs Podcast, I'm going to be talking a little bit about this concept of continuing to challenge yourself over time and how it's so rewarding to do this, and how over a period of time it can completely transform who you are. If you haven't already, please be sure to download a copy of my book, Run Faster Marathons, The Proven Path to PR, from my website. It's a great introduction to all the concepts that I teach here at Knighton Runs, and I have a free preview edition of the book available on my website. Just go to knightonruns.com/book, and you can get it now. So last Sunday, I tried something that I had never done before. I ran in my first ever 3,000 meter indoor track race. I'm a high school coach. I've been coaching for about 3 years. And my teenage athletes, when they run track in the winter and spring, the 3K distance is the longest event that they run in. From December to May, my distance runners will do this race a whole bunch. I mean, a handful of times for those who dabble in it, and for those who really focus on the 3K, they might run this distance 10 times maybe. But as adult athletes, the 3K is really short for us. It's a distance we almost never get a chance to run. Most people think that a 5K is short and fast. A 3K, it's even shorter and even faster. But I love track racing. I'm a big fan of watching professional running. The World Championships last year were exciting. The Olympics are coming up this year. I love competing and racing against others, and track offers such a fun experience and opportunity for those who want to take it on. What I love about track racing is you will get paired up in a race with people who are similar ability levels to you. So when you think of a road race, you might think of yourself as a mid-packer, back of the packer, front of the packer. The gun goes off, everyone starts at the same time, and the race splits up. Often you may not have people to run with. You may not have people around you who are your similar ability level. Road races often feel like you're running with others, or even running alone, and not like you're competing against others. But competition can be such a powerful way to get the most out of ourselves, to run our best, and can be incredibly fun. It's what turns running into a sport. And I love competing. I love working with others to push ourselves and achieve our best. I love that feeling of chasing somebody down and trying to pass them, or, running hard, scared, not wanting to get past before I get to the finish line. And track racing lets you do this. When you enter a race, you're going to be paired up with people who are similar ability levels to you, so you will stay pretty tight in the race to them. And these races can become very tactical, and everyone in the race will rise to a higher level because you're all trying to do your best, beat each other in the race and place as high as you can. So when the opportunity to run the 3,000 meters at the USATF New England Masters Championships arose, I knew that I had to take it. Prior to this, I have been focusing on indoor track since December. And I've never focused on a track season before. I got into running in my mid-20s, and really for the past 10 years, I've focused on, well, initially trail running and ultramarathoning, and then I shifted gears to focus on road running and road marathoning. And really for the last, I'd say, 5 or 6 years, I've focused on the half marathon and full marathon as my main events. And if you're listening to this and you also picked up running later in life and you didn't run in school, most likely you probably never really ran shorter distances or ran track either. And one of the things that's so exciting, I think, for me to get into track is it's like a whole new world of running. It feels so different than running on the road. The type of workouts you do to prepare for it are quite different. The mindset of racing on the track is pretty different than a road race. Developing your season is pretty different. You know, I'm going to be doing, I think, 5 1-mile races over the course of this season. I've done 3 and I have 2 left. I'm trying to PR in those, and once I taper, do my best. I've now run 1 3K, which I'll talk about here, this Masters race, and I'm going to do 1 5K, I think, on the track as well. So that's going to be my season. And it's been really fun, really different than, you know, a traditional marathon or half marathon training cycle where you have like this one race off in the distance that you're focusing on maybe 4 or 5 months away, building up to it. And maybe you do like a 10K or half in the build up to your marathon, but you know, really you're just kind of mostly focusing on this one big race. With track, there's many opportunities to compete on the same distance and improve from race to race. And I've already seen that within myself. This has been a big challenge for me. I started this season hoping to PR in the mile by the end of it. I actually PR'd in my very first race by a fraction of a second. And that surprised me. When I went to do my second mile race, a couple weeks later, I PR'd by like another 4 seconds, which again surprised me. And then when I ran my 3rd mile race, I came close to my PR. I was within half a second of it, but I won that race. And that felt really good. I took the lead with about 400 meters to go and ran to win. So then I had this 3K come up, and I'd never run the 3K distance before. This was at the USATF Masters, New England and East Region Championships in Providence. And I was excited for this. This was at the home track where my high school team competes almost every single week right now in the winter. And it's fun to run on the same track that I'm there with my high school girls like every week. And I have a high school athlete right now who's probably going to go to our Rhode Island State meet in the 3K, or the 1500, but probably the 3K. So it was really cool to race the same distance that she's been racing. And, you know, as a 35-year-old man, do this distance for the first time. So the race went off, you know, got started. I ran my usual tactics that's kind of been working for me all season. You know, I started off conservatively. I know from experience that most people start too fast in these track races. So, you know, I think I was in 4th place after 1 lap. Another lap goes by. I'm still in 4th. Another lap goes by, move up to third, another lap goes by. At this point, close to about a kilometer into the race, I can tell the people ahead of me are starting to fade. So I'm able to make my move past them. And then I have about 2 kilometers left to go to lead the race by myself. Pushing from the front, pushing the pace, if you've ever been in the lead of a race, or even if you've kind of got into no man's land in a race, it's pretty tough to push the pace when you're alone. And this is what I had to do. So I did my best. It's hard. My pace slowed down a little bit, probably, or definitely did a little bit in the last 2K. But then with about 400 to go, I was able to pick it back up. And I had a friend James, who's a couple of years older than me, who I coach with. He was also in the race, and it was his first race in a couple of years after coming back from an injury. And he gave me a big scare in the final 200 meters. He put out a really big kick from behind, and my wife, who was giving me splits, called out, "James is coming! Go, Chris, go! Sprint!" So I looked back like 3 times over the last 200 meters, and he was coming fast. But I managed to hold him off, and I crossed the finish line about a second ahead of him, and placed first in this race with a time of 9:47. So it was cool. I my first 3,000 meter race, I won the gold medal in the USATF Masters Region Championships for 3K. Pretty cool. This meet in particular was fun to compete at, and it was inspiring. Most of the meets I've been doing are open meets, which means that they're all ages. Sometimes I'm competing against high schoolers, sometimes college kids, sometimes adults, sometimes older master runners. But this Masters meet was only open to Masters competitors, which the definition of Masters kind of depends on the meet and what organizing body you're referring to. But this meet was open to anyone over 25. So there was a couple people in their 20s in the meet, in the race, a few people in their 30s, and then people in their 40s, 50s, and older, 60s. And there was a lot of people there that day who were over the age of 60. I met one guy who was 80 years old, and he was also doing the 3K in the race after me. It was his first 3K too, at the age of 80. And that was super inspiring to hear about. His name was Rich, and he was telling me that he has been part of he's part of a club. I think they call it the 65 plus track runners club or something like that. And he's been a part of a world record breaking relay team for the 70 to 80 age group. And that was just so cool. I'm 35. So, by all accounts, I'm barely a Masters runner. Arguably I'm in the best shape of my life. And, probably my age at this point is not limiting me too much. So yeah, certainly I have a bit of an advantage there against some of the older runners, but I'm so excited to keep doing this as I get into my 40s. Hopefully can stay healthy and keep running into my 50s and 60s, and maybe one day be like that guy Rich, who's going and doing his 3K at the age of 80 years old. It was super cool to meet him. Really inspiring. One of the things I love about running and challenging yourself to do new things like this, and getting out the door each day, doing these workouts and training like an athlete, as a 35-year-old man, dad, husband, father of a 1.5-year-old daughter, most of my peers are not doing this kind of thing. I mean, I don't know what the number would be, but like I would guess 90% of new fathers, mid-30s, would not consider themselves an athlete. They probably don't exercise much. Maybe they do a little bit, but definitely it's not a big priority in their life. I would guess most people probably don't exercise at all, right? So most of the folks who listen to the show, most of the folks I coach are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s. We are a special breed of person, and we're doing something that it's so rewarding, it's so empowering to keep training, to keep working hard and pushing our limits. We're improving our health. We're so much healthier than those who don't run, don't work out, right? We're doing things that most people, they couldn't even dream of. I mean, I think they could do it if they made the concerted effort to do it, but most people don't, right? Because it's not easy to start an exercise habit or to get back into it after you've got out of it. But once you start doing it, it becomes easy. And it's, if you're anything like me, if running is what you want to do every day, it's like the one thing you want to go do every day. And if you don't do it, you feel bad. So I'm just really grateful to be in this position where my body is healthy. Fitness is a big part of my life. Arguably in the best shape of my life, doing well in these races, both against much younger folks as well as people my age and older in these masters meets, and really inspired by what they're doing and want to stay on this track for as long as I possibly can. And if this sort of sounds like you too, be proud of that. Like, no matter where you're at with your fitness journey, no matter what your talent level is or how hard you train or how much you train, like the very fact that you're listening to this and training like an athlete, you're doing something that the vast majority of people are not at all. And that's something to be proud of. You're doing something really good for yourself, both your body and mind. And, I know I'm proud of all my athletes who are doing this kind of thing. And yeah, don't take it for granted. You're doing awesome stuff. So this past Sunday, I did something I'd never done before. It was running that 3K race. It was challenging myself in a new way. And I started this episode by posing the question to you. When was the last time you challenged yourself in a new way too? This could be trying new types of workouts, trying to race a different distance, one you've never done before, one that scares you. Maybe it's running more miles per week or adding in strength or mobility into your program and actually making a commitment to do it. Or maybe it's something like my wife today. She's out right now doing a yoga class. She's for over a year been saying she wants to get back to doing a weekly yoga class to support her running and her mental health. Maybe it's doing something like that. Maybe it's making a commitment to improving your diet. None of these things are easy, at least not at first. But if each and every season you choose one thing you want to do to challenge yourself, where you think the outcome will be worth it, over time, you're going to learn to enjoy that process. You're going to improve. You're going to get that outcome. And then when it becomes a habit and it's no longer a challenge for you and you can keep maintaining it, you can seek what's going to be the next challenge. And after a year and a half, 2 years, if you've been doing this season after season, you'll become a completely different person. The folks that I coach who were brand new runners when they first started, a year and a half, 2 years into it, they're a whole new athlete and a whole new person, running becomes a huge part of their life and they do everything the right way. And it's really cool to see. And this process of challenging yourself never needs to stop. Runners can get very set in your ways, but maybe if you're an experienced runner like me, I've been running for close to 10 years. This season, I took a very different shift. I went from focusing on marathons for the past 5 years to focusing now on track. And I'm working on my speed, maybe a little bit at the expense of endurance now. And it's been super fun, super, super fun to challenge myself in this way. I've been running PRs and events that I didn't know if I would ever run again, or be able to come close to those times back when I was marathon training. And it's been super fun. I'm really enjoying it. So I'd love to hear from you. How are you going to challenge yourself in the coming season? Let me know. If hearing all this talk about track and me running my fastest mile and doing well in this 3K, if any of this has been inspiring to you and you're interested in running your fastest mile and just getting faster as well, I have a new program that I think could really help. It's been really popular since I released it. I've actually been surprised at how many marathoners have chosen to purchase this program and start training with it. Marathoner speed is so underdeveloped. If you're like me and you started running later in life and you never ran in school, you probably never focused on shorter distances like the mile, the 3K, the 5K, and you probably went just pretty much right up to 5K, 10K, half, and marathon. And when we train for these longer distances like the marathon and the half, and we focus on those, we're primarily training our endurance at the expense of our speed. When you work on endurance, you lose speed. And when you focus on speed, you lose endurance. So it's important to have a balance of both. And that's why I created my Run Your Fastest Mile program. This is a 5-week program that I've shared with most of the athletes who I coach one-on-one. And it's amazing how many of them have PR'd in the mile after following this 5-week program. And that's for the simple reason that, most marathoners have never really, truly focused on speed for any amount of time. So if you've been running half marathons or marathons for a while and you feel like your speed has plateaued, one of the best ways that you can break through that plateau is by focusing on getting faster in the shorter distances. My Run Your Fastest Mile program will help you do that. And it can be done either in the early stages of marathon training, like if you're training for a marathon right now, but it's 3 or 4 months out, you could do it now. Or if you're taking a little break from marathon or half marathon training and you have some time before you start your next half or full marathon cycle, now would be a good time to focus on speed with a program like mine as well. So if you're interested in checking out my Run Your Fastest Mile program, just go to knightonruns.com and go to the training program section. And if you use code PODCAST, PODCAST, you can save 50% on my program today. I think you'll like it. All right. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to challenge yourself. And I'd love to hear what you're doing to challenge yourself. Don't get stuck in your ways. Until next time, this has been Coach Chris with the Knighton Runs Podcast. Hope your running's going well. Bye.